Who is Bushra Bibi, third wife of Imran Khan, ex-Prime Minister of Pakistan, and what is final call of revolution on behalf of him, and what are the reasons behind expected revolution of November 24, 2024 onward? Bushra Bibi, born on August 16, 1978, in the conservative environs of Dipalpur, Punjab, Pakistan, has been a figure shrouded in mystery and public intrigue. Her journey, from an ordinary woman to the wife of Imran Khan, Pakistan's former Prime Minister, is both fascinating and contentious, rooted in a socio-cultural framework that glorifies spiritualism while critiquing materialism. Bushra Bibi's life weaves a complex tapestry of religion, power, influence, and personal choices. Bushra grew up in a deeply traditional family with roots in the Wattu clan, a prominent Rajput lineage. Her parents, Ahmed Wattu and Kulsum Wattu, were known for their pious adherence to Islamic teachings. Her early education took place in Okara, a modest city close to her birthplace, where she was enrolled in a local convent school. Despite her upbringing in a conservative environment, Bushra was known for her sharp intellect and profound interest in Sufism, which later became a defining element of her personality. Before her marriage to Imran Khan, Bushra was wed to Kawar Farid Manika, a customs officer and scion of a politically influential family. The couple had 5 children, 2 sons and 3 daughters, each carving out their own paths in academics and professional life. Her eldest son, Ibrahim, and second son, Musa, pursued education abroad, with both rumored to harbor ambitions of entering Pakistani politics. Her daughters, Manur and Meherunissa, largely stayed away from the public eye, except for occasional appearances during family events. Bushra's life took a dramatic turn post her separation from Manika in 2017, following years of speculation about the strain in their marriage. Her increasing involvement in spiritual practices at the Baba Farid shrine in Pakistan had earned her the reputation of being a Piri Murshid, spiritual guide. It was during this time that she reportedly became acquainted with Imran Khan, who sought her spiritual counsel during a tumultuous phase in his political career. Their spiritual bond blossomed into a relationship, culminating in marriage in February 2018. Critics have often pointed out the enigmatic and controversial aspects of her life. For one, her spiritual influence over Imran Khan has sparked debates about her role in shaping his policies and personal decisions, while supporters laud her as a guiding force behind Khan's reforms. Detractors accuse her of exerting undue influence on governmental affairs. Notably, Bushra is said to have maintained an inner circle of trusted aides and mystics, whose advice often dictated Khan's choices, raising concerns about the fusion of religion and statecraft. Bushra's lifestyle has also come under scrutiny, despite her outward appearance as a spiritual ascetic. Reports suggest she enjoyed a life of considerable privilege during her tenure as Pakistan's first lady. She resided in the sprawling Bani Gala estate, equipped with state-of-the-art amenities, a fleet of luxury vehicles, and dedicated staff, including chefs, gardeners, and chauffeurs. However, her public appearances remained minimal, and she adhered to a strict interpretation of purdah, seclusion, rarely speaking directly to the media. Her religious convictions have both inspired and alienated people, while some admire her unwavering faith and deep connection to Sufi teachings. Others criticize her for allegedly fostering superstition and regressive ideas. Stories of her advising Khan on spiritual matters using divination and dream interpretations have fueled skepticism among Pakistan's educated middle class. Bushra's critics allege that she was involved in nepotistic practices, granting favors to her close family members and friends. For instance, her stepson Zulfi Bukhari, a business tycoon, secured several lucrative government contracts, leading to allegations of conflict of interest. Moreover, her perceived hostility towards dissenters within Khan's political party raised questions about her tolerance for differing viewpoints. Despite these controversies, Bushra's supporters highlight her philanthropic activities. She spearheaded several charitable initiatives, particularly focusing on women's education and poverty alleviation. Her efforts to modernize healthcare facilities in rural areas were widely praised, as was her push for the construction of shelters for the homeless in major Pakistani cities. Bushra Bibi's persona is a blend of contradictions. On one hand, she is seen as a woman deeply committed to her faith and spiritual practices, living by the teachings of Sufi saints. On the other, her critics view her as an ambitious individual who skillfully navigated the corridors of power. Her alleged involvement in securing favorable outcomes for her family while occupying an influential role has marred her image in the eyes of many. 5 rare and sensational facts about Bushra Bibi further illuminate her enigmatic life. She is rumored to have performed rituals involving rare artifacts, which some critics dismissed as superstitious but which her followers claim brought divine blessings to Khan's political campaigns. Her strict adherence to wearing a full niqab veil, even in official meetings, set her apart from previous first ladies of Pakistan. Bushra reportedly had an estranged relationship with some of her stepchildren, particularly Khan's sons from his first marriage, fueling familial tensions. Her influence extended beyond Pakistan, with several political analysts suggesting she played a role in Khan's diplomatic dealings with Gulf countries. Despite being deeply spiritual, she maintained a collection of luxury watches and high-end perfumes, which critics argued was at odds with her ascetic image. Bushra's legacy remains divisive. She has left behind a wealth of anecdotes, controversies, and unanswered questions. Post her tenure as First Lady, she retreated to a more private life, though her name continues to resonate in Pakistan's socio-political discourse. Whether admired or criticized, her life is a mirror reflecting the complexities of faith, power, and human ambition. What is final call of revolution on advice of Imran Khan, and what are the reasons behind expected revolution of November 24, 2024 onward? A rolling stone gathers no moss, yet even aspirations like mine, akin to an Afghan war, remain unfulfilled. Peace remains unseen. 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 O Father of Harmony, rising to confront the tyranny of mafia rule. The antidote to oppression is not further oppression, but justice. One who dives deep into the river's depths does not lose their way. The greater the mountain, the deeper its foundation. Those who try to lighten the stone they deem burdensome become the burden themselves. The night of tyranny is never illuminated. 10 reasons to oppose the mafia and military dictatorship in Pakistan. Freedom of speech. Autocratic regimes silence dissent, violating the right to free expression. Corruption. Such governments enrich themselves at the public's expense, breeding systemic corruption. Human rights abuses. Unlawful detentions, disappearances, and violent crackdowns define their rule. Undermining rule of law. The legal system serves the powerful, depriving justice to ordinary citizens. Economic mismanagement. Economic instability, poverty, and unemployment often follow their governance. Erosion of democracy. The people's right to elect leaders is suppressed under autocratic regimes. Educational decline. Education is often deprioritized, leading to widespread ignorance and misinformation. Militarization of governance. Army interference weakens civilian structures and accountability. International isolation. Sanctions and global alienation stem from dictatorial practices. Social unrest. Oppressive rule fuels frustration, creating instability and unrest. Strategies to secure Imran Khan's release. Public protests. Organize widespread, peaceful demonstrations to pressurize authorities. Legal initiatives. Pursue legal challenges and international advocacy for his release. Global outreach. Engage international organizations and governments to raise awareness. Media mobilization. Leverage social media platforms for global support and visibility. Solidarity efforts. Unite with activists, human rights organizations, and allies worldwide. Significant political transitions of selected nations. China. The People's Republic of China was founded on October 1, 1949. After the Communist Party's Civil War victory, the Republic of China, established in 1912, transitioned to Taiwan, 1 Chinese yuan approximately equals 39.1 pkr. Bangladesh gained independence from Pakistan on December 16, 1971. After the Liberation War, 1 Bangladeshi taka approximately equals 3.02 pkr. India achieved independence from Britain on August 15, 1947. During the partition, 1 Indian rupee approximately equals 3.39 pkr. Russia. The Russian Federation emerged on December 25, 1991. After the Soviet Union's dissolution, 1 rub approximately equals 2 Pakistani rupees and 52 paise. Afghanistan secured independence on August 19, 1919. After the Third Anglo-Afghan War, 1 Afghani approximately equals 3.35 pkr. Note: the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, completed on August 30, 2021, ended 20 years of involvement, following the Taliban's rapid takeover of Kabul on August 15, 2021. Pakistan's global rankings and socio-economic challenges. Corruption. Ranked 140-180th in the Corruption Perception Index 2023. Rule of law. Ranked 130-139th in the World Justice Project's Index. Poverty. Approximately 38.8% of Pakistan's population lives below the poverty line. Extremism. Identified as high risk for terrorism, with significant extremist activity. Education. A literacy rate of 58% places Pakistan near the bottom globally for education. Proverb. To know the road ahead, ask those coming back. These rankings underline the severe obstacles in governance, societal development, and institutional strength. Despite some progress, the nation grapples with systemic issues requiring broad reforms. Why is Imran Khan being targeted by the army and army-backed mafia politicians? And how does his situation compare to that of Iran's former Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh? Here's an explanation. Story. Iran's struggle for freedom. 1917 to 1979. Early conditions and the seizure of oil. Before 1917, Iran was plagued by poverty and despair, with its resources dominated by foreign powers. Australian and British companies had taken control of Iran's oil reserves. Public frustration grew as Iran's rich natural resources served external powers instead of benefiting its people. The Iranian nation began raising its voice for its right to control its oil reserves. Where there is oil, there is greed. And where there is greed, there is exploitation. The rise of Reza Shah's monarchy. The British government plotted to bring Reza Shah Pahlavi's father, then army chief, to power. In 1925, Reza Shah was crowned Iran's king to maintain Western control over Iranian resources. Iran's sovereignty diminished, worsening the plight of its people. Through monarchy, Iran was turned into a state where decision-making was in Western hands. Monarchy is but a puppet show, with foreign hands pulling the strings. Prime Minister Mossadegh's struggle. In 1951, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh initiated a movement to nationalize oil. Mossadegh sought to liberate Iran's oil from foreign control and restore it to the people. This effort displeased Western powers, leading to conspiracies against him. In 1953, American and British agencies orchestrated a coup to topple Mossadegh's government. A tree of justice bears no fruit under the shadow of foreign domination. Reza Shah Pahlavi's dictatorship. After Mossadegh's ousting, Western powers further empowered Reza Shah Pahlavi. Iran transformed into an absolute monarchy where freedom ceased to exist. The Iranian people endured oppression and injustice while most of the country's wealth was siphoned by the West. This dictatorship became unbearable for the people, laying the foundation for a revolution. A tyrant's throne is built on sand. It sinks with the tide of rebellion. The 1979 Revolution. In 1979, a revolution led by Ayatollah Khomeini occurred, rejecting Reza Shah's monarchy. The people established the Islamic Republic of Iran. This revolution opposed not only monarchy, but also Western influence over Iran. Khomeini aimed to build a new Iran based on Islamic principles. Revolution is the fire that burns tyranny to ashes and lights the path to freedom. Comparison between Pakistan and neighbors. Pakistan's sluggish progress. Since independence, Pakistan has remained stuck in backwardness. The people were deprived of education and awareness, while dreams of development faded. The military and elites collaborated to loot public resources. Under the guise of democracy, the game of dictatorship was repeatedly played. A nation asleep cannot dream of freedom. Afghanistan's struggle. Despite ongoing wars, Afghanistan continuously fought for its sovereignty. Following the fall of the Taliban, the people made sacrifices for an independent system. Despite the war on terror, Afghans managed to drive out occupying forces. Freedom came at the cost of blood, but determination remained steadfast. He who fights for his land earns the right to call it home. Russia and China's revolutionary movements. Russia overthrew the Tsarist regime through a socialist revolution, transforming itself. Under Mao Zedong's leadership, China defeated foreign intervention and gained autonomy. Both nations prioritized their people and paved new paths for development. They turned the tide of history in their favor. Revolution is the mother of nations reborn. Lessons from Bangladesh. In 1971, Bangladesh separated from Pakistan. The people of East Pakistan raised their voice against oppression and injustice. They established a separate identity and governance for their nation. Bangladesh demonstrated that freedom achieved through sacrifices is the most valuable. Freedom won through struggle is cherished forever. From 1947 to 2024. Beginnings. Pakistan emerged as an independent state in 1947. But the dream of freedom soon turned into disappointment. After its creation, the military positioned itself as the state's pillar while undermining politicians. During its first decade, the public was deprived of basic facilities, and elites monopolized resources. In 1958, the first martial law suspended democracy and trampled the constitution. Democracy was repeatedly suppressed, with power concentrated in a few hands. The lion's share always goes to the wolves in sheep's clothing. The 1971 tragedy. In the 1970s, politicians and the military from West Pakistan oppressed the rights of East Pakistan. Instead of acknowledging Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's mandate, a military operation was initiated. In 1971, atrocities and exploitation reached their peak, leading to the massacre of millions. Bengalis were labeled as rebels, and their right to self-determination was suppressed. As a result, East Pakistan separated and became Bangladesh. When injustice becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. Military and religious nexus. In 1977, Zia-ul-Haq imposed martial law and strangled democracy. Religion was exploited for political gains, with laws enacted in the name of Sharia. Madrasas became centers of extremism, pushing a generation towards radicalism. The military tightened its grip on politics and positioned itself as untouchable. Under the doctrine of necessity, courts consistently ruled in favor of military dictators. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The illusion of democracy. After Zia's death in 1988, democracy was restored, but it was merely a facade. The Pakistan People's Party, PPP, and the Pakistan Muslim League N, PMLN, took turns in power but failed to address public issues. Corruption, nepotism, and bureaucracy were used to loot resources. Both parties struck covert deals with the military for their own interests. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens suffered from poverty, lack of education, and poor healthcare. Democracy dies in darkness, and the light was never turned on. The hope of Imran Khan. In 2011, Imran Khan emerged as a beacon of hope, promising change to the people. In the 2018 elections, the PTI won, but the country's problems remained unresolved. The military controlled Imran's government and eventually ousted him. Since 2022, Imran Khan and his supporters have faced severe crackdowns. Thousands of workers were imprisoned, and their families were blackmailed. Hope is a double-edged sword. It cuts deeper in despair. Media and freedom of expression. The media was entirely censored, with even mentioning Imran Khan becoming prohibited. Social media platforms were shut down to suppress public voices. Journalists were either murdered or forced into exile. The military and intelligence agencies silenced anyone who dared to speak the truth. Freedom of speech in Pakistan has become nothing more than a distant dream. Freedom of speech is a mirage in the desert of tyranny. 2024 and the question of the future. By December 2024, Pakistan is teetering on the edge of complete anarchy. The public is helpless, and the system has entirely collapsed. Fears of the country's disintegration are growing. With no hope in sight, the collusion of corrupt politicians and their descendants with the military has enslaved the people. The possibility of genuine democracy has vanished, and justice remains a mere dream. The chains of oppression tighten as the spirit of resistance fades. Puppet rule and electoral rigging. Across the country, the military's fascist system is run by puppet political parties, including the PMLN and PPP, alongside nationalist politicians and clerics hired by the military. Over the past 2 years, inflation has risen 300%, while these elites, in collusion with the military, have looted the nation and moved their wealth abroad. In the 2024 elections, this group suffered a crushing defeat, while Imran Khan's PTI won with over a 2/3 majority. Despite imprisoning Imran before the elections on false charges, his victory was blocked at every polling station. Presiding officers issued Form 45 results showing PTI winning 90% of seats. However, the election commissioner Sikandar Sultan Raja, Chief Justice Qazi Faiz Issa, Army Chief Asim Munir, and leaders of the PMLN and PPP conspired to change the results on FORM 47, announcing fake outcomes. Over 15,000 PTI workers were jailed, disappeared, or killed, while their families were blackmailed with explicit videos to force defections. Through the 26th unconstitutional amendment, laws were altered to remove the judiciary's power to hear cases against the government or military. Judicial and military domination. Judges of the Supreme Court are now appointed and dismissed by corrupt politicians and the military. A constitutional bench was created above the Supreme Court, giving all power to this hand-picked group. A law extended the army chief's tenure from 3 to 5 years, granting the military unchecked authority. Civilians can now be detained without warrants, charges, or trial for up to 3 months, with no institution authorized to challenge the military. Imran's final call for revolution. As of November 25, 2024, Imran Khan, from prison, has called on Pakistanis to rise for a final revolution. Legal avenues for justice have been exhausted, as the judiciary has been compromised. The people are urged to seize their rights. As for 74 out of 77 years, either the military or its puppets have ruled, pushing the country centuries back through corruption. Imran's government lasted only 3.5 years, but in 2022, his administration was toppled under US President Joe Biden's orders. The US diplomat Donald Lu pressured General Bajwa to remove Imran after he refused to grant military bases to the US and sought cheap wheat and oil from Russia. Since then, the military-approved PMLN and PPP government has ruled, despite being rejected by the public. March towards Islamabad. Masses are now marching toward Islamabad in convoys to overthrow this illegitimate government and free Imran Khan. Demands include repealing the 26th unconstitutional amendment, releasing 15,000 PTI workers, and restoring Imran's rightful election victory. The country is under lockdown with containers blocking roads, trapping citizens in their homes. Pakistanis are now looking to newly elected US President Donald Trump for help, believing him to be a friend of Imran and an advocate of peace. Trump is seen as a leader who, like Imran, opposes war, advocates for negotiations, and rejects military interference in civilian matters.